In the beginning, there were no grand ambitions, just a small, almost invisible IT firm in a cramped office, tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. I had just landed my first real job as an IT engineer, and the company barely had a name to speak of. I remember walking into the office for the first time. The walls were bare, the furniture was secondhand, and there was barely any buzz in the air. It was the kind of place where most people would have just walked out, but something in me clicked. It wasn't much, but I saw potential. The boss, let's call him Mr. Evans, was a seasoned tech expert, but he wasn't a businessman. He had the vision but not the capacity to scale, and I had the skills but not the experience. We made a strange team, but we were unstoppable. Long hours turned into sleepless nights, but I didn't mind. I believed in the work. I was the guy who stayed up on Sundays to fix the last-minute glitches. I was the guy who wrote the code that made our client systems run smoother. Slowly but surely, our small company started to grow, and so did my reputation. People began to trust us because I made sure we never failed them. My name became synonymous with quality, reliability, and dedication, at least that's what I believed. Years passed, and the company transformed. The office grew into a modern, high-rise tower, and the employees multiplied. We secured bigger clients, bigger projects, and bigger challenges. The work became intense, but I was there, always there. From the small team we started with, we now had dozens of employees under our roof, but the loyalty we had built with our clients, that never wavered. They trusted me. Then it happened. Mr. Evans passed away unexpectedly. But before that, comment, and subscribe for more rStories. It was sudden. It shook the company, and it shook me. I thought we would rise above it, but what followed? Well, it changed everything. Mr. Evans had one child, a son named Daniel. He had always been distant from the firm, focused on his own ventures. The transition was rough, to say the least. Daniel wasn't like his father. He didn't have the same passion for the work, the same understanding of what made the company tick. His approach was colder, more transactional. At first, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he just needed time to find his footing. But it didn't take long before the cracks began to show. Daniel questioned everything. Decisions that had been made over the years, decisions that had been successful, were suddenly up for debate. He would sit in meetings, asking why we did things a certain way, challenging the very foundation of the company that I had worked so hard to build. At first, it was just small changes, a few tweaks here and there. Then the work started piling up, projects with impossible deadlines, demands that were out of reach. There was no room for failure, no room for error. I had always prided myself on going above and beyond, but under Daniel's leadership, there was no above and beyond. There was just more, and no matter how much more I did, it was never enough. I had worked day and night, and now I was drowning in a sea of expectations. I watched as the old culture of the company began to slip away, replaced by a toxic environment that was nothing like the one Mr. Evans had built. The stress mounted and the hours got longer. And then, one day, Daniel dropped the bombshell. He called me into his office. The air was thick with tension. He told me that the company was implementing new policies. A few changes here and there. But when I read through the new rules, it became clear they weren't about improving the company. They were about benefiting him. The policies were designed to push us to the brink. They would make impossible demands on the employees, all while providing him more power and control over the company's decisions. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when Daniel told me directly that I hadn't met the company's expectations. That all my hard work, all those sleepless nights, the countless hours I'd poured into the company, it wasn't enough. I was out. Just like that. No thanks. No recognition. I was dismissed. I could feel the weight of it as he gave me the cold, corporate speech about business decisions. I wanted to scream, but I held it in. I had given everything for this company. Everything. And now, in a matter of minutes, he was willing to throw me away. But I wasn't the only one who knew the truth. Clients didn't trust the company just because of the brand. They trusted me. I had built relationships with them over the years, and they would follow me, not him. I knew this, but Daniel didn't. He thought he could replace me with some fresh-faced hire, someone willing to work for less and accept his ridiculous deadlines. He was wrong. In the weeks that followed, I picked myself up. It wasn't easy. Being fired like that, well, it stung. But I knew something he didn't. I knew my worth. I found a job in a company where my skills were truly valued, where my work mattered. And the old company? It began to fall apart. Clients started pulling out one by one. Word spread that the heart of the company, me, was no longer there. The new hires couldn't keep up with the demands. The quality dropped. The clients who trusted me walked away. Daniel's plans unraveled. And then one day I got a call. It was Daniel. His tone was desperate. He begged me to come back, promising anything. But I had moved on. I wasn't about to return to a place that had thrown me away. I declined. The company was already in freefall. The clients who had once trusted us no longer wanted anything to do with a business that had treated their top engineer like expendable trash. It was too late. The damage was done. The reputation that had taken years to build had crumbled in just a few months. And as the company continued to spiral, I realized something. I had built something real, something solid over years of hard work. And even though they had discarded me, they could never take away what I had created. My legacy wasn't just in the systems I built or the code I wrote, it was in the trust of the clients, in the relationships I nurtured, in the way I had turned a small, insignificant firm into something that mattered. But the truth was, no company can thrive without trust. And once that's gone, the rest is just a matter of time.